There is a moment, somewhere between the sliding of a wooden door and the first pour of cold beer, when something in a Japanese person visibly changes. The shoulders drop. The voice lowers into its natural register. The careful, measured expression that carried them through the workday softens into something unguarded. You are now inside an izakaya, and you are watching someone become, for the first time today, themselves. To the foreign visitor, an izakaya looks like a bar. Noisy, warm, slightly smoky, filled with the sound of glasses meeting and voices overlapping. They photograph the lanterns, order yakitori, post it online. Beautiful, authentic, very Japan. But what they are actually witnessing is not a dining experience. It is a pressure valve, a weekly exhale. The one place in Japanese social life where the rules briefly, gently are allowed to bend.
Outside Japan, the izakaya has become one of the most romanticized exports of Japanese culture. Izakaya-style restaurants have opened in New York, London, Sydney, and Seoul, each one carefully lit with paper lanterns, serving small plates of karage and edamame, soundtracked with low jazz or ambient noise. Travel guides describe the izakaya as the heart of Japanese social life, a place to experience the country's warmth and communal spirit. Food writers call it democratic, casual, the great equalizer. And they are not wrong, exactly. But what the exported version captures is the aesthetic, the lanterns, the wooden counters, the small plates without the particular weight that makes the original meaningful. The izakaya outside Japan is a mood. Inside Japan, it is a necessity.
Ask a Japanese salaryman in his 40s about izakaya, and the answer that comes back is more complicated than the travel guides suggest. Yes, he loves it. Yes, there is something genuinely restorative about sitting at a low table with colleagues after a long day, beer in hand, the pressure of the office temporarily suspended. But ask him how often he goes by choice, truly by choice, and the answer shifts. In Japan's corporate culture, the after-work drinking gathering, known as Nomikai, has long occupied a gray space between invitation and obligation. Declining is possible, but it is noticed. It is remembered. The izakaya is where relationships are built, alliances are formed, and loyalty is demonstrated not through work, but through presence. Showing up is the message. The food is almost beside the point.
The izakaya, as a concept, dates back to the Edo period of the 17th and 18th centuries, when sake shops sakaya began allowing customers to drink on the premises rather than taking their purchases home. The word itself is a compound, I meaning to stay, and sakaya meaning sake shop, a place to stay and drink. Over centuries, the format evolved. Food was added. Counter seating replaced barrels. Small dishes multiplied into the elaborate tapas-style menus of today. By the Meiji and Taisho eras, the izakaya had become embedded in working-class culture, the place where laborers, craftsmen, and merchants unwound after physical days. It was never an elite institution. It was, from its very beginning, a space built for the ordinary person who had worked hard and needed somewhere to put that down.
Nothing about the izakaya is accidental. The low lighting is not simply aesthetic, it signals permission to be less visible, less performative. The small private rooms, known as zashiki, create a boundary between the table and the world outside, allowing conversations that would be impossible in an open office or a public street. The ordering system's small dishes, arriving continuously, chosen by the group, forces a kind of collaborative negotiation that mirrors and gently parodies the group dynamics of Japanese professional life. Even the alcohol itself serves a structural function. Japan has a long cultural concept known as communication, a portmanteau of nomu, to drink, and communication, which acknowledges, with characteristic Japanese practicality, that certain conversations simply require lubrication. Feelings that cannot be expressed, sober find their way out, carefully, over the second or third round.
There is a social understanding in Japan that what is said in an izakaya stays, to a significant degree, in the izakaya. The concept of honne and tatemae, one's true feelings versus one's public presentation, is one of the most discussed aspects of Japanese social behavior. In most contexts, tatemae governs. At work, in public, in formal settings, the presentation is managed, the feelings are held. The izakaya is one of the few spaces where honne is given conditional permission to surface. A junior employee can hint, carefully, that he is exhausted. A manager can admit, with a laugh and another pour, that the project was harder than he let on. A colleague can say, almost by accident, that she is thinking of leaving. These things are said. They are heard. And by a kind of collective agreement, they are not fully remembered in the morning.
But there is a cost to this system, and it is not evenly distributed. For decades, the Nomikai culture has functioned as an informal but powerful professional network, and access to that network has not always been equal. Women in male-dominated industries have long navigated the particular discomfort of izakaya culture, present enough to be included, careful enough not to become the story. Workers with families, particularly mothers, have faced a structural disadvantage in industries where post-work availability signals commitment. Those who don't drink, for health or personal reasons, have found the dynamic harder to navigate than those who simply hold a glass. The izakaya reflects Japanese society not only in what it offers, but in who it was originally built for, and the quiet negotiation, still ongoing, around who belongs inside.
Here is where the gap lives. The tourist walks past an izakaya on a Friday night and sees warmth, laughter, human connection in a country sometimes described as cold or reserved. And that warmth is real. Unquestionably real. Japan's izakaya culture has produced genuine friendships, honest conversations, and moments of grace that would not have happened anywhere else. But the same institution that produces those moments is also one that has, for generations, quietly extracted after-hours labor from a workforce that already works some of the longest hours in the developed world. The izakaya does not exist despite Japan's work culture. It exists because of it. It is the release that makes the pressure sustainable, and understanding that does not make the lanterns less beautiful. If anything, it makes them more so. Japan's younger generation is quietly renegotiating its relationship with Nomikai. Surveys conducted in the early 2020s found that a growing majority of workers in their 20s and 30s preferred not to socialize with colleagues after work, not out of hostility, but out of a simple desire to reclaim their evenings. Some companies have responded by moving team gatherings to lunch hours or making after-work events explicitly optional with no professional consequence. The rise of remote work, accelerated by the pandemic, has further loosened the grip of in-person after-hours culture. And yet the izakaya itself, the physical space, the small dishes, the low light, is not disappearing. It is simply being repopulated. Increasingly, the people at those low tables are choosing to be there. And that choice, small as it sounds, changes everything about what the room contains.
So the next time you step through the curtain of an izakaya, whether in Tokyo or in a city far from Japan that has tried to bottle something of this feeling, look around at the people in the room. Not at the food, not at the decor, but at the faces. The loosened ties, the elbows on the table, the laughter that arrives from somewhere genuine and unguarded. You are watching people who have spent the day being one version of themselves finding their way back to another. That is not a small thing. It is, in its quiet way, one of the most human things Japan has built. A door between two worlds. And the light on the other side of it, warm, low, and forgiving, has been burning for a very long time.